अच्छा खोल ही देते हैं, गर्मी लग रही है। साउंड देख लेना, इसे फंसे नहीं मेरी तरफ से। ओके, good afternoon everybody. So in this class we discuss GS paper 4 ethics. You know very well ethics play a very vital role in our selections. So if you have made very extraordinary effort in this paper, then you must be assured about your result, about your name in the list of interview. So here I will discuss some questions of our ethics paper in detail, and meanwhile if you feel that I'm not getting the idea properly, or you think that some concept required to be analyzed in detail, then you are free. So this will be a two-way conversation between you and between me. So we cover all such topic one by one. So first I would like to introduce some aspect of this paper, that is in this year to as usual the paper ethics divided into two different sections, that is section A, it was theoretical, and section B, it was the case study segment. Okay, so I will discuss in detail the theoretical aspect of our ethics. Okay, in this segment, though there are only 6 questions, but the interesting fact is that all question comprises A, B, C parts. So it becomes a very lengthy and very dynamic. The very fact here I would like to share with you that UPSC has touched even all such segment, all such topic in this theoretical segment. So we have no such options in this paper to avoid or overlook any topic. So, and second part is of the case study, and it has 6 questions. Now the very first question that asked, you can see, what do you understand by the moral integrity and the professional efficiency in context of corporate governance of India? Illustrate with suitable example. So in this lecture, not only we will discuss the content, but also structure, requirement, all we will discuss. So here the fact, first we should consider the question and the keywords, thereafter we can design our answer. So very explicit part or very obvious part of question is, we can say, moral integrity and professional efficiency. So this question require a very 3-stage structure, that is introduction. So in introduction we can write that moral integrity and professional efficiency play a substantial role in the performance of an organization, and the modern corporate governance basically adhere or advocates both principles. So this way we can. Thereafter in main body segment, we have to provide a very comparing chart or list. A list, this may you can draw in this part, moral integrity and second part would be professional efficiency. With this kind of chart, you can handle all such point of this question. You can see this way, what is the meaning, what are the dimension or all such part, and thereafter finally one line for conclusion. So this way you can manage within 125 words this question. Now come to the part. So in introduction you can write that in India moral integrity and professional efficiency become the two essential components that guides the behavior and responsibility, particularly in the corporate world. So this way you can make. As far as the moral integrity is concerned, so the very first and very basic thing about moral integrity, you know very well what is morality. So morality is our understanding about the right and wrong, about the good and bad. So moral integrity, a very complex set of integrity that refers the quality of being honest, ethical and principled in one's action decision. Okay, it is upholding a strong sense of moral value, ethics, social responsibility. So it is basically the attribute, the we can say virtue of an individual. If an individual follow such a norm like compassion, like empathy, like susceptibility, or like suppose dedication for work, so this person shall be called the moral integrated person. Again, in context of India, this kind of thing become very predominant. Now, what are the example this question require? So in the chart you can specify example like either you can quote the name of personalities, like suppose we have multiple personality who poses such a moral integrity, like you know it was E. Sridharan, metro man known for moral integrity, like suppose IAS Khemka Sahab known for integrity. Again Armstrong Pam is known for integrity, man of integrity. So after quoting all such name, even Lal Bahadur Shastri, we can write some points like a person if disclosing accurate financial information and avoiding fraudulent, avoiding conflict of interest and making decision on the basis of interest of a stakeholder, upholding ethical standard or demonstrating social responsibility shall be the example of your moral integrity. As far as professional efficiency is concerned, so you know very well efficiency, execution of work with the best way. So one suppose is a designer. So the design of that person must be attractive, must be very popular, so that we can say the person poses professional efficiency. So here ability of individual within a corporate setting to perform their role and responsibility competently, effectively and efficiently can be said as a professional efficiency. So you can write in that particular box meaning of both term. Thereafter it involves necessary skill, knowledge, expertise, fulfill the job requirement. And in the moral integrity, we saw that it involves, moral integrity involves knowledge of value, ethics, even the principles. So here the set of both idea, both theory is quite different. Again, if a person poses moral efficiency, then he will be capable of making informed decision, managing risk and driving organization toward a new level. As far as example of professional efficiency is concerned, so appointment of qualified and expert professional without involving in biasness, favoritism, etc. Again, conducting a diligence strategic strategic decision making, ensuring compliance with relevant law regulation. So this way we can make a difference between the moral integrity and the professional efficiency. Is that clear? Thereafter we can write both are complementary to each other if a person possesses moral integrity but it lacks such a professional efficiency, overall contribution of that person will not be countable, will not be considerable. So a person with professional efficiency and moral integrity can lead the modern organization, and it is the demand fundamental requirement of our modern organization. Is that clear? So we can write or conclude our answer with by saying this relation. Now come to the next question. Again, this question is quite conceptual as well as quite, we can say, the technical. Technical in the sense that it is not a flat question like earlier one was. Here it says that international aid is an accepted form of helping resource challenged nation. Okay. Comment on the ethics in contemporary international aid and support your answer with suitable example. So, you know, nowadays international aid become a very explicit part of our foreign policy. Even India is the country that support such a aid to the aggraved or to the affected countries. We arrange, you know, humanitarian aid in Turkey, the earthquake hit country. Again, this is not a new, we can say, course of action implemented by the countries. Rather, we can saw the rise of international aid or a campaign or a formal program like international aid soon after Second World War. It was United States and the European country officially announced the international aid scheme, not only to support the development initiatives of developing countries, but also for their influence, for their control on such an economy. So here we should consider all such facts together and make a very visible structure. That is, first must be an introduction. In introduction, we have to correlate our question with our answer. Thereafter, we have to write some positive dimension of our international aid with ethical principle, positive ethical principle. Thereafter, we have to write some challenges pertaining with this international aid, since comment word is mentioned specifically. Wherever comment is there means it require an argument against that things, against that course of action, and thereafter we have to make a conclusion. So we can sum up this question into four different para or four different dimensions. So here how we can correlate this? So the international aid, contemporary international aid is very complex and multifaceted endeavor that involves a range of ethical considerations. Okay, this way we can manage. Again, it provides not only a support to the resource challenge nation, but also it arises the way aid is it arises concern and all such questions. So, in the very first part, after making introduction, now we will draw some positive ethical dimension of international aid. The positive dimension of this humanitarian principle. So, our international aid is based on ethical principle, that is humanitarian approach, humanitarian support. For example, we cares for humanity, impartiality, independence and neutrality of countries, and often multinational organization like Red Cross or even country like India follow the same ethical principle by providing during this aid. Now, do not harm. So, this concept also supports the international aid, and if a country is very keen to provide responsibility, keen to take responsibility to minimize negative impact, in that case to avoid harm to the local economy, they often carry out such a international aid. So, like post-disaster recovery effort. So, what India did in Turkey is basically do not harm approach. Again, transparency, accountability also is part of international aid. So, if we suppose analyze the international aid around the world, most of the international agencies related with United Nations organization purposefully adhere the principle of transparency and accountability. They organize their international aid in the way that transparency, accountability uphold. So, this way all such manage, even fund is being this. Again, organization like Transparency International works for that. Sometimes environmental concern also deals by the international aid and such kind of initiative effort. So, this way you can draw the positive and ethical dimension of international aid. But what are the negative impact of international aid? So, we saw the debt crisis in Sri Lanka, in Pakistan, and it is due to the aid given by China. So, most of the country in the world are basically using this aid as their strategical policy, as their foreign policy. So, this way the interest of our developing country is being violated, and nowadays the international aid came into criticism. The reason is very obvious, and you can find incident also that how India banned some NGOs when they attempted to create obstacle in our development process. Okay, so this way you can finally handle this question, international aid. Now, the next question, corruption. So, corruption, this question say that corruption is the manifestation of failure of core value in society. ठीक है, आगे आओ. In your opinion, what measures can be adopted to uplift the core value of society? तो लिखो, देखो, look, it is a very flat question. It require the overall understanding of corruption, and thereafter the main question is here that how can we handle or withstand against this the menace of corruption. The very fact you all know very well that corruption is basically a result of unethical behavior or immoral practices. If a person does not adhere the ethical principles like honesty, like integrity, like probity, so it found themselves as a corrupt person. So, corruption is nothing but the violation of ethical principle. Here again you should consider that how corruption prevail and corruption is in our country. The basic fact is that if we allow such a person to go beyond the ethical standard, only then corruption prevail. So this question require your analysis how a society, if society does not follow or adhere the corruption may does not adhere the ethical principle, corruption may prevail. So for that we have to make a structure. To explain this answer, we have to make a structure. First we need to introduce this segment. Thereafter we have to give some regions of corruption in reference of social breakdown, in reference of societal breakdown, and thereafter we have to pay more attention on this part, how can we handle the corruption, particularly in reference of ethical framework. So for introduction we can say that corruption become rampant in India. Even Transparency International report says that we are among the top country where corruption is very high. Again you can specify if rank, then it would be better. Again reason. So this question is not very focused on region, so we may make a diagram for that reasons, like acceptance of corrupt behavior, like avoidance of moral values, like the greed, individual greed, again aspiration for money, etc. may be the reasons for corruption. Now come to the main part of this answer. How can we say or provide that, suggest that corruption should be limited? So for that we should consider some ethical dimension, like ethical leadership. So a person suppose is has sufficient ethical understanding, that person must lead the organization, and we should promote such a person in politics, business and other sector for leadership, and that is why this way we can handle the misuse of power. So ethical leadership may be the first way to handle this. Again you know very well, leader, here the fact is that leader is the person that that guides the behavior of organization and individual. So if leader is very honest, very dedicated for ethics and the morality, in that case he can ask, he can suggest their staff, their subordinate not to do such a anti-ethical works. Again code of conduct, code of ethics for leader should be there, and it will enhance the acceptance of ethical values, and it will reduce the level of corruption. Again transparency and accountability. So you know very well, transparency is considered as the roadblock for the corruption. So if transactions, if the functions of individual in organization shall open, in that case there is no such scope for corruption. So this way we can manage the menace of corruption. Legal reform. So if we have a stringent law for corruption, and there would be a very strict adherence of that law, in that case we handle the education and awareness. So ethical awareness like honesty, impartiality, even all such kind of thing, if we promote among students, among our people so that they can not indulge in such a corruption. Again, civil society engagement. So if we allow civil society and the group of individual to take part in the business of administration, then in that way we can handle ethical training at workplace. So to control the corruption, we should provide it. Again, culture of integrity. So one who have shown a very high degree of integrity, organization must respect, must reward such a person. Again, media and journalism. So media should allow to investigate such a person or the matter related with corruption. If it is supposed a very serious, then government should take action on that issue. So this way we can say corruption or all such kind of thing gradually handled if we follow. Again, here international cooperation, sometime corrupt person like Nirav Modi or the Vijay Mallya fled away from India and they are in Britain. So if we have a international cooperation and better understanding for our ethical standards, then we can handle such issue. Long-term vision, role model. So if promote role model like Gandhi, like Lal Bahadur Shastri, like E. Sridharan, like APJ Kalam, in organization people will learn lessons from the work of that person. So this way we can handle the menace of corruption in our society by using ethical measures. Now come to the next point. The next question is in context of work environment. Okay, work environment means the environment means the formal, informal communication, formal, informal behavior of the member of organization creates the work environment. Whether it is relation with consumer also comes under this term. So what is the difference? This question say in context of work environment, differentiate between coercion and undue influence with suitable example. Again, it is a very flat question. It requires our understanding about both terms. So most of the time both are considered as similar, but there are a basic difference. So we need to handle this question differently. First we should introduce the answer, and in introduction we can write that both coercion and the undue influence are the negative and harmful attitude, harmful actions of individual that harm overall performance of an organization. So this way we can make a introduction. Thereafter again we need to make a diagram or a list. In this list, second point, main body, you should write the different dimension of coercion and second undue influences, and thereafter in conclusion you should write that how it is responsibility of the organization to handle such a intervention in an organization or against individual. So we can understand, we can write all such point this way. Now come to the part. So both coercion and undue influence are negative tactics that affect employee and workplace dynamics. Now what is coercion? So coercion you know very well, it is an explicit way. Suppose इसको अब हिंदी में अगर कहें तो how can we explain this? तो इसको हिंदी कहते हैं बलपूर्वक दबाव. तो जैसे किसी को जबरदस्ती किसी काम के लिए कहा जाता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड coercion. तो यहाँ यही बात है कि देखो coercion और द बलपूर्वक दबाव इन्वॉल्व यूज ऑफ थ्रेट, इंटिमिडेशन और फोर्स. किसी को जबरदस्ती कह रहे हैं कि भाई ये काम कर दो, तो अगर किसी को जबरदस्ती कह रहे हैं तो जबरदस्ती अस्पष्ट रूप से हमारे जो भी कार्य हैं उस पर वो प्रकट होंगे। तो कॉर्सन बेसिकली इज काइंड ऑफ फोर्सफुल आर्गुमेंट, फोर्सफुल प्रेशर टू अनदर पर्सन, ठीक है। और इसमें इट इन्वॉल्व प्रेशर एज वेल एज फियर, हार्म। सो दिस वे अ पर्सन बेसिकली follow the order of other person, ठीक है, and it is aggressive and involve abuse of power. If we say example, so suppose if manager says that I will fire you from our organization if you do not follow my orders. So this way we can provide explanation. Again using physical force or verbal abuse. So suppose employee is not able to react or retaliate. In that case a powerful person can dominate that over that person, and this way coercion work. Coercion legally is prohibited and it is a violation of law. As far as undue influence is concerned, so undue influence is not as explicit as coercion works or appears. यहाँ क्या होता है कि it basically a kind of persuasion. So person says that why not you should do that kind of work, and it will basically provide you a very benefit in terms of money, in terms of land, in terms of property. अगर ऐसा करोगे तो बहुत सारा पैसा वगैरह मिल जाएगा आपको। तो undue influence, जैसे मान लो किसी को एडमिशन नहीं मिल रहा है किसी कॉलेज में, तो ऑफिसर और हायर अथॉरिटी कैन से कि भाई ऐसा है कि उसका एडमिशन हो जाएगा, तुम हमारा ये काम कर दो। तो दिस वे undue influence is kind of act that attempted to influence or the change behavior of person. Again it takes advantage of their vulnerability, trust and dependency, ठीक है। It mainly occurs when situation is kind of imbalance of power or authority. So if person is not very able to conduct their business, in that case this kind of एक्शन वर्क्स, तभी ये काम करेगा, नहीं तो क्या अक्सर काम नहीं करेगा। अगेन एग्जांपल्स, सो अ सुपरवाइजर सपोज कंट्रोल्स द कैरियर एडवांसमेंट ऑफ एम्प्लॉय, देन सपोर्ट अ इंडिविजुअल दैट हैव इंटरेस्टेड or have shown the sense of obligation और एडहेरेंस। मतलब जो बड़ा अधिकारी है अगर वो छोटे अधिकारी को कभी ऐसा सपोर्ट कर दे, मान लो प्रमोशन में थोड़ा बता दे जिसने उसको कभी मदद वगैरह किया हो, तो अगर इस तरह से दोनों एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट करते हैं तो इट इज कॉल्ड अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंसेस, ठीक है। अगेन as far as legality is concerned, so there is no such clear provision regarding the legality of this undue influences, ठीक है। अब आओ आगे चलते हैं हम लोग नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन सेज दैट इट इज बेसिकली क्वेश्चन नंबर 3, एंड क्वेश्चन 3 you know very well, this year it was of contribution of moral thinkers। तो इस बार इसमें 3 मोरल थिंकर्स की स्टेटमेंट थे, एंड यू हैव टू एक्सप्लेन, दे आस्क्ड यू टू एक्सप्लेन द स्टेटमेंट इन रेफरेंस ऑफ मॉडर्न कॉन्टेक्स्ट। वर्तमान समय में उसको एक्सप्लेन करना था। तो पहला जो स्टेटमेंट इसमें था, द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट वाज द सिंपलेस्ट एक्ट ऑफ काइंडनेस आर बाय फार मोर पावरफुल देन थाउजेंड्स heads bowing in prayer। महात्मा गांधी। देखो द क्वेश्चन इज क्वाइट relevant even today's। If we saw our kindness, our sympathy, our empathy toward others, how it will change our overall personality, how it will change our position in society. Basically you have to write that point in this answer. कैसे हमारा व्यवहार हमारे विचारों को बदलता है, कैसे समाज में हमारी स्थिति में परिवर्तन लाता है, इसी बात को इस क्वेश्चन के आंसर में हमको लिखना है. सो फॉर दैट यू हैव टू अरेंज अ आंसर on your structure. So in introduction you can say about this kindness or Gandhi. Thereafter you have to explain this statement by using multiple dimension, multiple area. ठीक है, highlighting the multiple area you can write this answer. So you can write as well कि महात्मा गांधी statement underscored the profound impact of simple act of kindness and empathy in comparison to the grand display of religious ceremony. So Gandhi was the person who attempted to change the outlook, change the observation regarding the kindness and the prayer. If we are very kind, in that case we can handle multiple things going around us. Like suppose there is a rising issue, like issue related with food, shelter, medical care, pandemics, all are there. We know about that Africa is facing such a grim situation. Now consider if India provides a relief package to that aggravate, that miserable countries, then what would be the impact? Entire Africa will support Indian initiative, Indian role in the world. So similarly, if humanitarian action require, we need to adhere the principle of kindness. Again, if we consider in reference of society, so with kindness we can handle all such social issue, whether it is related with the conflict or tension among religions, among different group of people. If we show the high degree of kindness toward others, in that way other will also respect our view and we can manage social harmony. Mental health. So if a person is quite kind, in that case he will not feel guilty और shame about their works. मतलब किसी पर अगर हम दया करके कोई काम कर रहे हैं तो उससे हमको दिक्कत क्या होगी, यही बात है. तो in that way he will feel relaxed, he will feel very comfortable, and in that way anxiety, pressure, loneliness can be handled. Community building. Nowadays you know very well people are very detached from each other. बहुत सारा अलगाव आ गया है. The loneliness become a very prevailing phenomena in our society. So if we show kindness about man, animal or even environment, in that case we make friends, and this friend will basically create a community for us, and we can handle such a crisis situation. Environmental stewardship. So again, if we are very concerned about the environmental issue and their impact, like global warming. So if global warming is there, melting of glacier would be there, and thereafter what happened? Finally it caused the demise of millions of people. So in that way it will harm overall society. तो वहाँ पर भी अगर हम अपने चेंज लाते हैं बिहेवियर में, वी कैन हैंडल. अगेन बिजनेस एंड लीडरशिप. So if our businessmen follow the kindness in their actions, in that way we can facilitate our deprived, marginalized community very well. Global cooperation. So a country adhere principle of Gandhi like kindness. In that way you can see what is going on with India. So India was the country, despite having COVID, we basically provided vaccines to all such countries. तो यहाँ we can use multiple dimension to handle this answer. अब आओ आगे. Similarly, a question asked, awaken people, to awaken the people, it is the woman who must be awakened. Once she is on the move, the family moves, the village moves, and the nation moves. Jawaharlal Nehru. So this question again require the knowledge about the contribution of women. कैसे महिलाओं का अगर विकास होता है तो हमारा सोसाइटी, हमारा विलेज, हमारा ओवरऑल इंटरप्रिटेशन चेंज होता है. तो वी शुड राइट दिस क्वेश्चन इन दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट. और हाउ कैन वी मैनेज दिस? तो फर्स्ट वी शुड कोरिलेट आवर आंसर with this question in introduction, and you should write Nehru rightly held about the contribution of women in society. It is the women that have a very profound potential to change the entire realm, entire society. So Nehru identified the transformative power of women. Again, how women can change the progress, development, and all such things. So if a woman is educated, a educated woman in your family, in that case they will she will provide the valuable suggestion. They will she will guide the children of that particular family. Again, informed choice contribute to workforce or all such kind of thing we can identify changing in family. So education play a very family education. Again, workforce. So if we promote the women contribution at workforce, then it will create an inclusive environment. And if she were there, she would be there. In that case, not only we can maintain suppose the main dominant society, but also we can handle the dispute, since women are more thoughtful as considered. Again, leadership and decision making. So if women are in the course of decision making, then what would be the result? Decision would be more diverse, more inclusive, and more participatory. It will fulfill the demand of women, and women can be assured for their upliftment. Again, family, community, global development and goal. Even the international community has forwarded the SDG goal, and gender equality and empowerment considered as a key aspect of that. So in that question you have to write how women, you can use some example as well. कुछ example भी इसमें दे सकते हैं, जैसे suppose she was like Indira Gandhi, Kiran Bedi, all have changed the course of this development. ठीक है. Now come to the next point, that is the question number 3. It says that do not hate anybody, because that hatred that comes out from you must in the long run come back to you, and if you love, that love will come back to you, completing the circle. Vivekanand. It is again a very thoughtful statement made by Vivekanand. बहुत अच्छा स्टेटमेंट विवेकानंद का था. एंड यू नो वेरी वेल कि आवर थॉट, आवर प्रिंसिपल्स गाइड्स आवर बिहेवियर, एंड इफ वी फॉलो द नेगेटिव virtue, the negative sentiment, in that case over the time we becomes a very different personality, और हम खुद ही एक ऐसे कंडीशन में चले जाते हैं जहां अपने आप को हम एक विलेन के रूप में देख सकते हैं. तो यही बात उन्होंने कहा कि इफ़ यू फॉलो द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ लव, केयर एंड ट्रस्ट, यू विल हैव द सेम एटीट्यूड ओवर द टाइम। तो हमको यहाँ पे इसी चीज़ को एक्सप्लेन करना है। फर्स्ट वी शुड इंट्रोड्यूस द आंसर, देयर आफ्टर मेन बॉडी, देयर आफ्टर कंक्लूजन। सो इन इंट्रोडक्शन वी कैन से that Vivekanand emphasized the concept of karma and he rightly identified the ripple effect of emotions. ठीक है, ripple effect of emotions. Hatred and negativity can create a toxic environment affecting not only the person but also the environment around us can be adverse, can be negative for us. Again, community reference if we consider. So if we follow the very negative idea, मतलब हर किसी के साथ लड़ाई कर रहे हैं, तो what would be the result? We will not recognized as a member of this civilized society. So if we follow the anger or hatred and prejudice, then this will lead to a very disrespect in society, and finally we lost our importance, significance in society. In contrast to that, if we consider, then if we follow the care trust, then we can be a very respectful person. Self reflection. So if we add here the principle like self reflection or awareness, in that case what happens, the trait like ये जो anger है, it will basically harm our overall personality and our emotion, basically harm our overall personality, and this way we can not remain very calm and very peaceful. Conflict resolution. So suppose if you attempt to handle the dispute with such an attitude, then this conflict can lead to a different condition. So this love, care, empathy, forgiveness we should add here, then we can manage the conflict. Again, social media and online behavior. So if we spread a positive message regarding community, regarding religion, regarding the object or thing, we may have a very positive result. So this way we can handle. Now question number 4. So this question say what really matter? Success, character, happiness and lifelong achievement is a different set of emotional skill or your EQ, not just purely cognitive ability that are measured by a conventional IQ test. Do you agree with this? Give your opinion. This question in very simple word says that कि देखो traditional IQ means the ability to calculate the things or the numbers is the matter of concern, or it is the emotional quotient or measurement of emotional intelligence is vital. So it is quite obvious that if a person have emotions with intelligence, only then he can be a successful person. Without emotion, intelligence may be harmful. You know very well, earlier the terrorist, बहुत सारे आतंकवादी हमको मिले, हमने उसको अरेस्ट किया, जो पहले इंजीनियर थे, पहले वो डॉक्टर थे. तो दे वर इंटेलिजेंट एनफ, they created wealth, they become successful. Despite that, having a negative emotion, they lost their competent, they lost their significant. तो ये क्वेश्चन इसी ओवरव्यू को आगे लेके चल रहा है. तो in this question we have to explain the emotional intelligence and their significant overall. So emotional intelligence is basically a complement of cognitive intelligence, and it comprises all such things required for success. So IQ is just a test that can basically provide a person reasoning ability, but the understanding of situation, understanding of the relationship can be the result of this emotional intelligence. ठीक है. Above, if we have emotional intelligence, then how can we would be in better condition in comparison to IQ? So here very clear fact is empathy. So if we have empathy, then we can understand the real situation of other, and we can use our sentiment, our knowledge in the well betterment of other people. Conflict resolution, if you have suppose a high degree of emotional intelligence, dispute may have a very amicable solution. Mental health again, so if a person possesses the high degree of emotional intelligence, mental health will be there. Character development, so we learn not only from our books, textbooks, but also from behaviors of other. So emotional intelligence play a role in development of character like empathy. Again, interpersonal relations, so if we have emotional intelligence, we can manage such interpersonal relation very firmly. Adaptability, leadership and motivation, so all are the fact that says that emotional intelligence basically play a very crucial role in overall development of an individual and the person. तो अब इन सब के साथ we can say that the successful person require such an spirit ability to handle the situation with their emotion, with their mind. आओ आगे चलते हैं हम लोग. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, डिफरेंशिएट मोरल इंट्यूशन from moral reasoning with a suitable example. So you know very well, this question again require a very clear comparison between two different concept, moral intuition and moral reasoning. देखो what is moral intuition? So moral intuition basically is our understanding about the right and wrong, and it generally comes in mind suddenly and immediate decision. It is means moral institutions, suppose fear or the happiness are basically the institution come sudden, arises suddenly in the heart of individual. तो जब कभी कुछ ऐसी घटनाएं होती हैं उसके बारे में हमको कभी केयर, कभी गुस्सा, कभी ये आ रहा है मोरलिटी, when comes from the heart of individual, suddenly it called moral institution. It is quite quick and based upon the gut feeling. So it is quite personal, based on experience, and the speed of this quite very fast and very high velocity is there. So this is the dimension of moral intuition. You should write moral intuition by providing 3 or 4 aspects. You can quote example as well. Suppose you witness, you saw a person being beaten. In that case, the fear or injustice you may have feeling about that. If you saw, suppose a person paying some money to the beggars, so it will be respect. So this kind of institution when comes, it will called moral institution. What is moral reasoning? So you know reasoning is an ability to identify the pros and cons of particular thing, particular event. So moral reasoning is different from intuition. Moral reasoning is an ability to provide reasons to evaluate the situation or incident on the basis of moral ground. So this way moral reasoning is quite different from moral intuition. Moral reasoning basically is a very slow process and it requires a deliberated cognitive thinking about that. It require knowledge of ethical principle, rules, philosophy, etc. Again, if an individual is equipped with such an ethical principles, theories, only then moral reasoning may be there. As far as the speed or the pace of moral reasoning is concerned, it is quite slow and very deliberative in their nature. Okay? If example, so if suppose a dilemma is there, like someone offered suppose bribe to other person, in that case the decision must be based on the moral reasoning. किसी को कोई घूस वगैरह दे रहा है तो वहाँ पे घूस लेने से पहले वो आदमी सोचेगा कि इसका क्या हमारे इंटीग्रिटी, हमारे ऑनेस्टी, हमारे वैल्यू पे असर पड़ रहा है, तो इसको इस तरीके से हैंडल कर सकता है. अब नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, it is very interesting question, you can understand after evaluation. Is conscience a moral reliable guide when compared to law, rule, regulation in context of ethical decision making? Discuss. तो देखो, I said earlier that in the class that conscience is we can consider a jurist that lies within the heart of an individual. ये हमारे अंदर रहने वाला एक जज है. It always consider the fact in the light of moral perception, ethical principles. So whether it is even a thief. तो अगर वो स्टीलिंग कर रहा है, पैसा चुरा रहा है, in that case our conscience will say that you should not work or you should not steal the money. But the fact this question asks, can we say conscience will play a very vital role and rule regulation does not play the vital role? यहाँ पर differentiate करना है. So for that we have to provide the detailed description, and the fact is that it require a discussion. So question is quite analytical in their sense. The conscience and the rule law regulation in decision making is quite complex and a very debatable topic. If we consider the conscience, so what is the feature of conscience? Conscience is basically the internal moral compass, means it is our internal institution that provide us idea, knowledge about right and wrong, about good and bad. Again, it is very flexible, means it may changes with changing time, changing circumstances. It is subjective. One person may have different attitude, idea about different issues. For example, you can consider here, for example, like suppose खालिस्तानी supporter in Canada. तो खालिस्तानी सपोर्टर को ऐसा लग सकता है कि जो हमने सपोर्ट किया है इस खालिस्तानी आंदोलन को, इट इज़ क्वाइट गुड, हम लोगों को ऐसा करना चाहिए. बट एट द सेम टाइम अ इंडियन पर्सन और अ वेरी इंडियन नेशनलिस्ट कैन रेसिस्ट कैन अर्ज टू दैट पर्सन यू आर डूइंग रॉन्ग. कह सकता है कि भाई तुम गलत कर रहे हो, यू आर बेसिकली वायलेटिंग the principles of Indian nationals, you are basically trying to disintegrate our country. So this separatist kind of activity is not good. तो इसी तरीके से बहुत सारे फैक्ट हैं. Some can say that 3 तलाक is very good, some can say that no, it is not good. Somebody say that wearing a burqa or naqab is very good, some can say that no, it is not good. So conscience basically not a very objective kind of, not very deliver very objective kind of idea, rather it vary person to person. Again, conscience depends on moral development, it evolve and redefine over the period. But what about rule regulation? So rule regulation are basically result of deliberation, result of discussion. यहाँ rule regulation बहुत fix होते हैं, they are objective in nature. Clarity and consistency is there. Again, if someone violates rule law, they will be the subject of punishment. again protection of right, rule are intended to protect the right, public interest is there. So there are different fact related with the conscience and the rule law. So question require answer. How can we say what would be the good or what would be the bad things regarding incident or event? तो देखो यहाँ हमको डिसीजन देना होगा. तो वेरी फैक्ट इज दैट वी शुड कंसिडर द लॉ ऑफ सिचुएशन. लॉ ऑफ सिचुएशन मीन्स we should identify the answer on the basis of situation. If situation is quite a clear ethical violation, then our conscience may guide some standards. Like suppose a person is beating his wife, or person suppose is beating a child on road. किसी बच्चे को रोड पे कोई मार रहा है. In that case our conscience will say that जाओ और रोक दो उस आदमी को, मारने नहीं दो. जब तक लॉ आएगा तब तक देर हो जाएगी. तो ऐसे वायलेशन में ये हमारा conscience काम करेगा. ग्रे एरिया जहाँ पे where no such law or ethics or rule regulation is there. In that case, if the thing is quite complex, it is conscience that may provide us idea how we can handle this. इसी तरह if legal and moral conflict is there, then we should care for our conscience if we are morally correct. Like suppose earlier what happened, press were denied to publish even the news during emergency. So what conscience of the reporter said? Conscience said that you should publish. तो ऐसा हो सकता है. Now next is probity. So this question says that probity is an essential for an effective system of governance and socio-economic development. Discuss. Look, what is probity? First we consider this. Probity is established honesty, integrity and ethical standard of a particular system, particular administration or organization. मतलब फिक्स है कि भाई ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है, बहुत अच्छा रन कर रहा है. दैट इज कॉल्ड द probity. So if organization is very well, in that case how can socio-economic change will be there? This question require such an discussion. So probity, as I said, is the quality of honesty, integrity and uprightness in character. So if organization poses such a high degree of probity, मतलब बहुत trust, बहुत अच्छा organization है, it means there would be a trust and confidence on organization. Again, the economic growth and investment. So if organization is very integrated and cares for the development of society, in that way they can invest the money in economic development. Corruption. So if probity is there, no such corruption would be there. Again, resource allocation. So without having biasness, the authority will provide sufficient amount of resources to all such sections who are marginalized, who are facing issue of poverty or all such. Social cohesion, public service, international reputation. So this way, innovation, interpretation, long term planning. So all we can add here to support our answer. But the question was related with the tag, attached with the tag discuss. So later you have to write that how the probity cannot be realized, how it poses some challenges. So after that उसमें कुछ challenge को बताना पड़ेगा कि due to personal greed, due to social norms, due to very patriotic society, due to very monastic economy, what happened? Probity not remained stable in organization, and that is why we are struggling with the issue like corruption. ठीक है. Next is question related with the thinkers. So here it is a very flat question. What were the major teachings of Guru Nanak? Explain their relevance in the contemporary world. So we all know that Guru Nanak was the founder of Sikh clan. So he was the founder of Sikhism in India, and he was considered as one of the great philosophers in their time. His teachings is recorded in Guru Granth Sahib. Now you should provide all such detail. What Guru Nanak said: oneness of God, Ek Onkar. Ek Onkar means the God is one, and we should devote ourselves for that particular deities. And in this way, if we consider now, it will basically reduce confusion. It will reduce our confusion and very manipulation about the religion. Equality for all, it was Guru Nanak. So if we adhere the principle equality for all, we will care for the downtrodden group of society. Again, seva, selflessness. So it was Guru Nanak who propagated for self-service, and he basically is the, we can say, the founder of this virtue. And if we follow seva, then we can care for our community, for our country. Naam Japna, mediation on God's name. If we follow that, then we may have a very mental peace, very ethical standard in our life, in our society. Again, Kirtan Kardi. So what Kirtan and chanting? Basically, it is spreading the message regarding virtue, regarding trust, regarding ethics. So this way we can handle social evils, ritual and ceremony. So he rejected rituals and ceremony, heinous ceremony. Social justice, gender equality, living a balanced life, all were the teachings of Guru Nanaka, and you can quote all such one by one. It is very factual question. Now last one is, explain the term social capital and how will it enhance the good governance. So again, this is a flat question. It says we can explain this by providing detail about social capital in reference of good governance. So what is social capital? If we consider here, it is basically the benefit arises out of social connection, network, relation or individual group within a community. So if we we are suppose engaged with a particular group of people, particular community, and if we suppose feels very relaxed, if we feels very energetic with them, it is called social capital. So if a very positive social capital is there, in that case it will basically enhance administrative setup as well. So this is the question that require explanation of that topic. तो यहाँ हमको वही explain करना है. If we have a social capital, very standard social capital, very knowledgeable, very trustworthy, then we have a network and relationship with different multiple group of person. Or if suppose a person faced suppose corruption, suppose abuse of power, then they can share that issue with their group, and in this way they can search for remedies, trust and reciprocity. So if social capital is there and government or agency is implementing a very accountable policy, very favorable policy for with good governance, in that case they will foster, they will respect norms and value. So it also norms and value promotes during operation. Social support. So if government adhere the principle, the social capital support that endeavors. information flow, collective action, community resilience. So these are multiple dimensions associated with good governance. You can provide detail about social capital one by one, how it promotes. Along with that, if you require, then explain the idea of good governance. In introduction, you know very well, good governance was propounded by World Bank in the year 1989, and it comprises transparency, openness, participation, rule of law. So you can write all such point in introduction, thereafter list the benefit of social capital one by one and deal this answer. So this way I have shared with you the theoretical aspect of our ethics paper. ठीक है, तो ethics paper में हम लोगों ने theory part को देखा. Now sir will provide you some idea, guidance and detail about the case studies of ethics, and you will get a very concrete explanation of the case studies that came this year. So thanks for watching, and prepare your ethics paper very carefully. Thanks. So,
थैंक यू.
टाइम पे खत्म.
बहुत बढ़िया है सर. मैं भी कोशिश करूँगा टाइम तक ख़त्म कर दूँ.
पिछले का क्या हाल है? आईआर वाले क्यों फेलोशिप? किसी को पता है?
किसमें सर?
अच्छा, वो कब लाए? 7 नहीं पता.
क्या सर? पीपीटी? बस केस स्टडी यहाँ डाल दिया है, डिस्कशन यहाँ मैं बता दूंगा. ओके. Hello guys, this is Mohammad Sabaz Khan. Today I'll discuss or try to solve the case study which was asked in a GS paper 4 this year. The theory part was taken by Kanhaiya sir. I'll give you the insight into how to solve this case study. Okay, fine. So this framework of this case study, case study, if I say what could be the strategy, the framework, case study. So this you need to follow this structure or the framework. Okay. So any of the study, case study, first you need to, after analyzing this case study, you have to give what is the subject matter. The first would be to delineate clearly, lucidly what is the subject matter. What is the main subject matter of the whole case study. Fine. The next would be you have to make a flow chart of stakeholder involved all this case study. Fine. This you can depict through multiple way, through flow chart, through circle, whatever you can. This you have to give this idea of what are the stakeholders involved in the whole cases. Again, in the third framework, you have to write this ethical dilemma. Ethical dilemma involved in case study. All kind of, for example, the efficiency versus conflict of interest, wisdom versus apathy. Many of this like ethical dilemma you have to put in this. Again, you have to give options. What are the options available at your disposal? And again, of this optional, the chosen one, you have to give this point on articulation. Why you have chosen this particular option and what is the whole justification of this whole decision you have made. Okay, this could be the framework of this answer writing with respect to the case study, to solve this case study. So, in this paper, the section B, the UPSC has asked certain cases. So, let's start from the question 1. Okay. So, this exactly of the case study say, if you are an executive in a nationalized bank and you come to know that one of your colleague, she is a lady, her father is suffering from a heart disease, fine, and because of this what happened, and you also know she is not having enough resources and the insurance to provide a medical facilities to his father, fine. In this she also asked help from you, but you are not at this position, at this person, executive of nationalized bank, you are not in a position to fund her. And again, after some period of time, when you ask the well-being of her father, so she said she somehow managed this 10 lakh rupees out of from a bank manager who was kind enough to facilitate this release of 10 lakh from a dormant account, and this dormant account belongs to some other person. Okay, but this release of the money to be done on this condition that she would be paying this at the earliest and won't reveal this whole to anybody, as she has to keep this secret. So, here in this 3 question UPSC has asked with this case study, what are the ethical issues involved in this case? Again, second, evaluate the behavior of the bank manager from the ethical point of view. This is the second one. Ethical issues, the first, what are those ethical issues involved in this whole case study? Again, evaluate the behavior of the bank manager from ethical point of view. You also have to give this ethical reasoning or the justification, or where it had lagged. Again, if you are at this situation, how would you react? So, this question has been put by the UPSC through their case study. So, here if I say the framework, the subject matter, the main subject matter, here is what? Here is all about the matter of, if you put in the macro category, this is a conflict of interest versus compassion or the human value. This is at the center of this. This is at the center of this problem, this ethics, this dilemma, or the subject matter with respect to this subject matter. Okay, again, this framework you have to delineate this ethical issues involved in this whole dilemma, which the first question asks you to write what are these ethical issues involved in this whole. So, this ethical issues what exactly? Here professionalism, that bank manager compromised with this professionalism for human value, or this objectivity versus efficiency, or he is having this conflict of interest versus the compassion. Okay, again the issue of probity and transparency have been compromised by this bank manager in order to help the ailing father of that lady. This was the ethical issues or the dilemma involved in this case study. The second questions, the third question exactly, you have to give justification. The second question is what? This exactly the second question, evaluate the behavior of the bank manager from the ethical point of view. Is that person ethical? What do you say, this ethical or not? This valuation would be done on this two part of ethics. One is this through from deontological or the duty based, and from this consequentialism. From this perspective, if I say that bank manager did wrong as it was his duty to maintain probity or the transparency, or he shouldn't compromise with the conflict of interest where he tweaked the law in order to favor his relative or his known one, though it was for the larger interest. But here that person is wrong, that bank manager is wrong, or he is a morally wrong in this count. So from this perspective I say he did wrong and he shouldn't do, he must find some other option instead of helping this, to help that ailing father of that lady. Again from this consequentialism, that is, say if the action here means justify the means, justify the means. This consequentialism here is exactly he tweaked the law or he used this dormant account to fund a person who is dying from this heart disease, and her daughter has not having enough resources to pay for the medical cost. So in that case this bank manager saved the life of that person, and nothing is greater than saving a human or the human value. He saw here compassion and the value, the human value. So this is from this perspective the action of this bank manager could be justified. Fine. Again the C question, this gives you what? If you are at this place, you being a bank manager, what do you do exactly? So you have a multiple options. For example, here you can follow the due diligence. It means you won't compromise this procedural issue with this, and again if you write this option you have to give pros and cons of that particular action in this manner. Okay. The second option you have is what? You have to find a legal here of that, or you can also find some other means to help that lady. You can request from that person if this dormant account, this option could be there. Again the third option, what is this exactly? Here you can, as a bank manager, you can use many of this options, such as using by your social capital. You can arrange, for example, you are the bank manager, you must be having known one in insurance and other banks or the NBFC who can give loan to that lady in this case. So you can arrange your social capital here, you can contact NBFCs, other financial institutions, self-help groups. You can also take the benefit of government schemes such as Ayushman Bharat Yojana. Again also this you can also do by using the IT crowdsourcing. Here you can also arrange the necessary finances to fund the treatment of that old man who is dying from the heart disease without compromising this due diligence or the issue of objectivity overall. So this was you have to give, and you have also this the pros and cons of this case study. Fine. So this is the framework through which you will flow in this case study. Again, come to the next 8. So, here in this case study, what is given? A landslide occurred in the middle of the night on 2023 in a very remote hamlet or small village where this 60 km from Uttarkasi. This is situated from 60 km from Uttarkasi, and you are the district magistrate of that particular area, and also you have done your graduation. You were the physician from graduated from the AIMS. What happened in that case? In this landslide, when you come to know this, there is landslide in the area, you reached that place with all of your team of doctors, NGOs, media and the police and the numerous support staff with you. Again, in this case, a man came running to you with a request for urgent medical help for his pregnant wife, as she is going through labor pain, okay, and she has lost lots of blood in this whole process. In this case, you just come across this case, you directed your medical team to examine his wife, and they examined and they returned to you and convey to you that this woman needs blood transfusion immediately. Upon inquiry, you come to know that a few blood collection bags and blood test kits are available in the ambulance which accompany you. Also, the few people in the team has already volunteered, also donate the blood. It means you have this, all of this, you have test kit and all this necessary tools, also the donor also. You have all this available with you. Again, but here the dilemma faced by this physician is that, being as a physician, he is a DM of that area, that a blood transfusion need to be procured from through a recognized blood bank. And here in this case, this is what an emergency area which has seen a landslide, and there is no, in fact, this recognized blood is there, but your team member are divided on this issue. Some says transfusion should be there and some oppose it. Some says we are ready to facilitate it, but you know this transfusion other than from any lawful blood bank, this is illegal, okay. So in this case you have a dilemma. Your professional training says you have to prioritize service to the humanity and saving the lives, but as a physician, no, this is a code. If any person is being given this blood through other than any recognized blood bank, so this dilemma is faced by the gym. Here this two question have been given: what are the ethical issues involved in the whole cases, and again evaluate the option available to you being as a district magistrate of that area. So this again the broader framework which I have discussed. Now here we will write what the subject matter, the main subject matter. Here the main issue is with public ethics and the welfare. The measure, the public ethics or the organization ethics versus welfare or compassion. So this is in contrast here, this two ethics here in contrast with each other. This is the larger theme or the subject matter of this whole questions. Again, other framework, stakeholders. Stakeholders, you have to make a flow chart of this. For example, your medical team was there, locals are available, fine, all of those doctors, your support staff. So these are the stakeholders, this husband of that lady. So these are the stakeholders you have to put here. Again, in this firm you have to write this ethical dilemma involved. So in this case, the ethical dilemma, what could be the ethical dilemmas? Here the professionalism is to be maintained on the cost of human value or the compassion. Public service is to be ensured at the compromising with legal requirement. Fine. Again, this lead to a situation of crisis of conscience for a DM. Being as a physicist, he is also bound by this duty to help this larger section or to save the life of the others, but being as a DM, that person has also to follow the rules and regulation. And this also coincides with this idea of objectivity. Here you have to follow this in a letter and spirit, you have to follow this law in a letter and spirit. Again, here the issues involved, for example, trust building, trustworthiness among the people versus the issue of trust deficit between citizen and the administration. This is the major issue. So here this ethical dilemma, this all parameters you have to give, fine, give example of it, example and write. The next question of this class is evaluate the options available to you being as a district magistrate. Here you have evaluate the option. What are the options available here? So write down all these options available to you. Option first, you will start, you will allow for this transfusion, you will give approval for this transfusion, you will won't allow this, or in this between you will find a middle path, so that you shouldn't compromise with this idea of sticking to the rules and regulation or maintaining objectivity as well as service of the mankind. Here again you have multiple this action from this consequentialism, from this principle of summum bonum, for the larger good you can ensure this public. So this you have to write also the pros and the cons of each of the options available to you. In fact, you also can give many of these innovative suggestions here. So you have to go through this whole framework into this particular case study. Fine guys. So now come the next. So this exactly question number 9 of this case study. This is exactly a story of Rasika, who is a joint secretary, being an IAS officer, she is a joint secretary, fine, and this lady Rasika is suffering from managing its work as well as his personal life. He says there is a case given in this at 9 p.m. on Saturday evening. On this, the next day is a Sunday. At this 9 p.m. almost, when this work has been finished at 5-6, he is working at till 9 p.m. and he is engrossed with his work in office. Has a husband Vikram, who is a corporate employee or executive in MNCs. He is frequently out of the town in connection with his work. He is having 2 children which has age 5 and 3, and mostly they are looked by their domestic helper or the nanny. Again, at this 9:30, when just about to finish your work, you are just free from the work, a call have been received by you, and this call is of your seniors, Mr. Suresh. So he is also an IAS officer. He called her and asked to prepare a important notes or detailed notes which is important matter which contain an important matter which to be discussed in the meeting in the ministry itself. And this is a very much important meeting. See, your royal is that they still have to work on Sunday, and for to finish this work she has to work till Sunday. Again, on this call, having attended this call, she reflects, she go into this idea, she dwells into this. She had asked for this posting. In fact, she was challenging one and she wanted this for the welfare of the people, so that he could do something for the welfare of the people. Again, but to fulfill his official duty, she compromised with his family as has not fulfilled his duty being as a parent. Here lead to a situation of which is social and personal obligations. He compromised to complete his work. As we've seen, his husband is also living outside for the work. Again, here the dilemma he faces to maintain between his work-life balance and a personal life. Again, in this case study, you have to discuss the ethical issues involved in this case, the ethical dilemmas Rasika is facing, and briefly describe at least 4 laws that have been enacted by the government with respect to providing a healthy, safe and equitable working condition for the women. The second question, and third is, imagine you are in the similar situation, what suggestion would you make to mitigate such working condition? How you will make this suggestion so that her life could be a balanced life between a personal and public. Fine. So this again will go by this framework as I have suggested you. In this framework, first you have to write the subject matter. Subject matter for the whole of this case study. The subject matter is what exactly? What is the subject matter? Here the personal ethics versus private ethics. Here is a conflict between personal ethics and versus public ethics. Personal ethics and public ethics and personal or the private ethics. This personal relations coming into this work of public. So here is what exactly he has to do for all his effort for the welfare of the society, to his work commitment, his work, but while providing his commitment to the works, he has to compromise on many of this personal relation, and this personal relation many of this times set by the personal ethics, which is based on this idea of caring, love, compassion. So this exactly is what he is compromising. So this is the main subject matter of this whole of the study. Fine. And here now write this second stakeholder. What are those stakeholders involved in this whole? The stakeholders, this Rasika himself, his boss Suresh, his administration whole as being as a lady of this, her any action, decision will impact the lakhs of the people in that particular districts. Again his family, her family includes her kids, nanny, husband. Fine, these are the stakeholders involved in this case. Again the ethical issues involved in this case. What are those ethical issues could be there? Ethical issues, for example, here what could be the professional commitment. The ethics will oscillate between professional ethics versus personal ethics. So he has to make a balance between these two extreme or the two ethics he has to confirm. Again, he has to show this idea of fortitude. Without all this adversary and the odd of life, still you are strict to your duties, but for that very purpose you have to be very much brave, as you have to manage this personal and public ethics. Fortitude, you have to work on this EQ management, because this mental stress or the pressures coming from this personal realm can hit your emotional regulation or this emotional control that can lead you in a trouble. Many of the times IAS or many of these bureaucrats or the top official committed suicide because of this. Fine. So this exactly the ethical issues involved. Again, or others, career versus family. Here you have to pursue the career, you have to go up in this as you have desired for the particular post, for which you are doing all kinds of efforts for the welfare of the people. So here is career is compromised to manage this family, the family issue. So these are the ethical issues involved in it. And the next question, this is what have you, if you are being in that place, similar, so what could be your suggestion to manage this working condition? In this behalf you have to do, what are those solutions are there and what suggestion you will give? The solution could be in terms of what? the solution, you have to first know the schedule of others. Know the schedule of others. As knowing the schedule of yourself is not important, is important as knowing the schedule of others also. Both are important, because what the Suresh exactly did, so you should be knowing you have to make a plan in advance. If you are knowing this colleague or you have the subordinate, what are their schedule, what they are doing working, what kind of work, so you can manage through the schedule. Again, from this you have to set a goal and a priority clearly. You have to prioritize things in between, this priority in every aspect of life, because a bureaucrat couldn't be a successful while ignoring this personal aspect. So he has to set in here, she has to set in this priority right and straight and stay strict to this. Again, has this person, that person, this lady, what exactly you or suggestion, you have to make communication channel open. It means for that particular first you have to be all the time strict, or you have to contacted with all the stakeholders involved in this case. The nanny or this communication channel should be open from all this. Again, further to rejuvenate him, he should also take a break in between, take vacation or any kind of activity which will fill your banger. So this suggestion you can, in fact many of this suggestion or innovative things you can suggest in this place. So this was all about this 9th case study. So fine guys, this was all about this, the problem of Rasikas, the ethical issues involved and what could be the solution also. Fine. Now come to this next. Now the 10th question, here's a Vinod who is an honest IAS officer, very honest and sincere. He has recently taken over as a managing director of the State Road Transportation Corporation, and it was the 6th transfer in the past 3 years. It means the 3 years he was transferred 6 times. In fact, his peer knowledge is vast. He is a very vast knowledge. He is a good uprightness. He is a very honest officer. But while joining, he come to know this chairman of the State Road Trans Corporation is a powerful politician, and he is a very much close to the chief minister as well. The Vinod comes to know about many alleged irregularity cases of corruption against the chairman, and again the board member of that particular corporation once, and they are mostly belonging to the opposition party, meets Vinod and hands over a few documents which clearly specify, and a video recording also which says the chairman appeared to take a bribe from the person or the people. Fine. And this also Vinod recollect the chairman expediting clear the pending bills of the QMR. Again Vinod conference, the board of members says, why are you shying away from exposing the chairman with the so called solid proof? The members inform that the chairman refuses to yield his threat. He adds that Vinod may earn recognition. They say this board members, they are the opposition leader mostly, they say when you will expose this you will earn prestige and the public support if you expose. Again he says, we know that once his party comes to the power, and you also come to know this party could come into the power in the next election. Again Vinod is all aware of the situation. If he goes against the chairman, he could be penalized and he could be transferred again. But he knows us, also knows that this opposition party stands a better chance of coming to the power in the forthcoming election. However, he has also realized that board member is also trying to use him for his political gain. You have all this stakeholder. Here the questions are, as a civil servant you have to evaluate the options available to Vinod. What are the options available with case of Vinod? And again B, in the light of above cases, comment upon the ethical issue that may be arise due to the politicization of the bureaucracy, especially this politicization of the bureaucracy. So again this will go in the same fashion, the same framework will try to apply. The subject matter here is what exactly? Subject matter here is what could be the subject matter here? Probity and transparency. Probity transparency versus fortitude or courage of conviction. This is the main subject matter of this whole case study. Again, here you have to give the stakeholders involved in this case. Stakeholder, again you can put in this flow chart manner or through flow chart, whatever they use here. Stakeholders will be Vinod himself, chairman, opposition leader, and so on. You have to give like this stakeholder, all the stakeholders involved in this. And again, the ethical dilemmas involved in this whole cases. Here is the case of probity versus family stability, because if you are following this probity aspect, you could be again transferred, and here this area could really be problematic, as the shifting of every time will lead to problem in the personal realm of the family. Again another problem would be personal stability, poverty, transparency, courage of conviction. So this could be the ethical dilemma involved in it. Many more you can write example. So you have to evaluate. First question is what? You have to evaluate the options. What are the options available? So Vinod is having what options? So here he can vote, he can expose the chairman. If he expose, he has to give this, you have to give pros, what could be the advantage of it and what could be the disadvantage, the cons. So if he expose the chairman, he could be made the victim of this politicization whole person, because that person is also close to the chief minister. But at the same time, he could also get public support, or that's the same year election, likely that power, that opposition party would come into the power. So this could be like, again, what option? Not exposing at all, don't take a pain, just go with the flow. So this could be the second. Again on this third, middle one, here you can give many of this innovative suggestions. For example, talking with the seniors or get these things noticed to the higher authorities. You can use here the social media or the citizenry processes you can involve here, and also discussion and what exactly. This all you can give here, and all this you have to give the positive and negative of this. These options you have to evaluate, and this fine. Again, the fourth part, the issue with this politicization of this politicization of bureaucracy will ultimately lead to compromise with this idea of, or it will lead to the idea of corruption in the society. The more of this nexus between politician and the bureaucrats and this crony capitalism overall, the idea of probity could be compromised. The idea of transparency could be compromised. The idea of integrity could be compromised. The idea of accountability could be compromised. If you are the position and you pass all, then you give approval, all this bills been cleared by that person, by that chairman, you could also be answerable in that particular case. Here you can also compromise on this idea of impartiality. Here again you have an issue with objectivity, following the due diligence of the law, objectivity rules you have to follow. and conflict of interest also involved. So these all are involved. You can give example of each one also. So these are the issues involved with this politicization of the bureaucracy. Fine. So this was till we have done 10th. Now come to this 11th case study which was given by the UPSC. Okay, here this a case in which it has been assumed you have been appointed as the additional general of Central Public Work Department. Okay, you are the additional general, everything's come under you, you are at the top of it. The chief architect of your division, the chief architect who is a very senior person who is to be retired in a 6 month, and he is passionately working on a very important project, and this successful of such project would earn him a lasting reputation for the rest of life. For that purpose, that person, the chief architect, is working tirelessly day and night. Again, what happened in the organization, new trainee or the new lady architect entered SEMA, and he has got his education from Manchester School for Architecture. He is a very good academic and a working profile, and she joined as a senior architect in your division. What happened during this briefing about the project, SEMA made, there was a meeting for that particular project to be completed. SEMA made some suggestion which would be very much innovative and which also add some value to the project, but this also will lead to the reduction in the time of the project completion. Again, this suggestion made that chief architect, which is a senior person, insecure, and he constantly worried that all this credit will go to that lady. Subsequently, what happened? He adopted a very passive and aggressive behavior towards that lady and has become disrespectful many of this time. Here the SEMA felt embarrassing, and that person left no chance of humiliating her. Fine, again he would very often correct her most of the time. So it was hitting this confidence and the self-esteem of the SEMA. Again, you also come to know, because of this harassment or because of this mental pressure, she is contemplating to resign from the organization. At the same time, you know, she is a very bright background or academic, so she also want to retain here. So this is the case, a case given by the UPSC to you solve. So this exactly what first question is gives you, what are the ethical issues involved in the above cases, ethical dilemmas, and what are the options available to you in order to complete the project as well as to retain the SEMA organization. So you have to complete the project as well, and you have to also retain the SEMA in the organization. Here what we will do, what are the options you have? What are the options you have? UPSC has asked. Again, what would be your response to SEMA predicament? What measures would you institute to prevent such occurrence happening in your organization? What you will do for this guilt or for this embarrassment SEMA is facing? How will respond to this, because she is also being a lady and still is being insecure bit in this environment. Fine. So here again the framework would be same. Again this framework, in the last paragraph this Vinod was there, and this Vinod we have seen. Again in this case we have like this B, we have skipped this B, questions B. So we will discuss this 4 law. They have asked about the 4 law importantly for this to save and secure the working place for the women. Here the 4 law, you can write this 4 law, the Maternity Benefit Act, Maternity Benefit Act 1961, Equal Remuneration Act, Equal Remuneration Act 1976, and this Equal Remuneration Act is a reflection of the Article 39 of DPSP, which says equal pay for the equal work. This means it's talk about the gender parity. Also, this exactly Factories Act 1948, where it has been given for a proper infrastructure such as toilet to be established in the factories. Again, the last is prohibition of sexual harassment of women, at workplace, and it has been brought after Visakha guidelines, okay, 2003, especially in the background of Nirbhaya rape cases in Delhi. Fine. So these 4 acts you can quote. Fine. So again, now come to this. We have this issue of this Rasika. We have done this Rasika and this Vinod. You have seen this is what exactly. This was the issue with this case of Additional Director General. You were the Additional Director General. This was the case, and this was the 3 question. Kya hai? What are the ethical issues involved in this whole matter? What are the options available you, so that you can retain the SEMA as well as complete the project in time. Again, the third is what would your response to the SEMA's predicament? What will measure you will do to institute a safe and secure environment for the women in your organization, you being as a division head of that particular department. So here the framework would be the same. What could be the framework? Here you have to raise this subject matter. Here in this case, what could be the subject matter, guys? Here gender justice. The subject matter here is what? Gender parity or justice versus efficiency and effectiveness of the organization. Fine, this is the major subject matter of this whole case study. So what are those ethical dilemma involved in it? What are those ethical dilemma involved in this both cases? So ethical dilemma in this case, so again here you have to write sketch this stakeholder. So many of the stakeholders in this link, so the ADG, so you again, that lady, SEMA, that senior, other colleague. Fine, so you have to give the stakeholder who will be impacted from this decision. Again here on this ethical dilemma involved in it, the first question answer of it would be what? The ethical dilemma in this case. Ethical, here you will have to compromise the ethical fairness and justice. As men and women, Article 14 are equal, there no discrimination on the basis of justice, on the basis of it, and we have also make this environment secure for the working of women, so that the participation in the labor force could be increased. So fairness and justice you have to ensure. Also you have to manage this principal agent problem. Now because of this personal ego of that senior, now the organizational goal is different from the individual goal. Personal agent problem with issues with this ethical dilemma. Here again, this rivalry could lead to the efficiency to compromise with this aspect of efficiency and effectiveness of the organization. Again, what is this? The issue of objectivity is to be compromised. As also this involves the issue of leadership, because if you haven't take any action in this regard, this will lead to a bad work culture or a bad precedent to set in a organization to follow. Find also this idea of gender parity is involved in this, gender justice. This all are the ethical issues are involved in this whole cases. Come on. Now the third questions, exactly what are the options available for you, okay, and would you respond SEMA predicament, what will do for this whole cases. So in this case, options or the suggestion you would made, what could be the suggestion here or the option? Here you can use this process of persuasion. or the solution of it whole is your persuasion. You have to make a channel open within. Here you should go in this persuasion, we have to clearly define this due, award, credit and recognition, so that there shouldn't be any kind of confusion with respect to this completion of project who would be given this credit, because this is not an individual ambition, this is also an ambition or the goal of the whole of this organization or the society in general. So if any this problem among their implementators will lead to non-completion of the project, or also you can compromise with this idea of justice or the gender justice overall. Fine. Also in this manner you can engage with this exercise of stress management or the counseling of SEMA, so that she could feel motivated to work for extra hour for the organization also. Fine. Again you can create a channel of employee engagement, where they can discuss their issues separately. You have to ensure the aspect of objectivity in the organization also, where nobody should, their clear duty and responsibility should be delineated. Nobody could take overlapping of each other. Fine. Again you have to ensure a practice in the organization so that it could ensure a team building rather than the purpose could enhance his or her self goal. Fine. So this options or suggestion you can suggest in this case of case studies. Again the options available, if I say what are those options available? Options: will you persuade, don't anger anyone. In this case you have to be value neutral for both of them. You have to write these pros and the cons of it. Again option second you have to do, for example you have to retain also this. Again you can castigate that seniors. In that case what would take place? Pros and cons. Again some middle path or the innovative answers you can write here. In this case you can write many of this channel, team building approach, or ultimately eliminating this idea of principal agent problem in this whole cases. Fine. So this was all about this, the second last case study which was asked by the UPSC in this 2023 mains examination. Fine guys. So now we have the last and important one. This is question 12. This involves the question of this fake news or the menace of social media which has been experienced or been asked by the UPSC in this manner. So here is exactly in this case study. Here it has been a case, you hold a responsible position in the ministry of the government. One day in the morning you receive a call from a school. The principal called you and he said you had your son is irresponsible or aimlessly roaming around the ground and is not responding, or he has not seen a sign of development and he is trying to escape the classes and all. After knowing this whole issues, you came to know about your child is being bullied by some seniors or the classmate of that person. Again you visited his school and you found in the football field you saw the same thing, but again when you come you saw you should raise this issue or you try to make things comfortable for you guys, for your son. You exactly did what these peoples have made this ill information for you in the social media. They have said you came and you pressurized these children and this was whole case goes against you. So in this case you have to manage the future of your child which is being bullied, or a social norm, a evil which is being prevalent in our society or the schooling culture. Over this a failure of our education system. or again you have to manage this your public media, or this could be a mud slinging exercise. So here you have an ethical dilemma involved in this whole cases. So on this UPSC has 2 questions. It's done. So this exactly based on the above case study, discuss the ethical issue involved in the whole social media and discuss the pros and cons of using social media by you to put across the factor to counter the fake propaganda. So this question too have been asked by the UPSC. Here again this you have to give the framework would be the same. Again the framework would be same. Here the ethical issues, the subject matter exactly involved is the issue of privacy and cyberbullying. This was the subject matter. You have to put again the same framework, stakeholder. You have to write all the stakeholder approach, the school authority, that you minister being as a bureaucrat, your child, all those students or the classmates. This you have to put in this manner. Again the ethical issues involved in this case would be what are the ethical issues in that whole cases. You have to the issues involved with this child abuse, cyberbullying, issue of privacy, social media ethics. So these are the things which would be discussed or would be analyzed in this whole. So you have to write this guys exactly. Now what are those options available if you what could be the use of this social media if you do this proper or the counter propaganda by using social media? What could be the pros and the cons? The pros, if I say if you are using the social media, yes, this could be lead to a movement against this cyberbullying, or it would lead to awareness program in the society. It will also help you your child to fight this menace, but this would lead to a mud slinging exercise where your public image could also be compromised in this whole. Again, if you don't use it, so there are multiple of these pros and cons you have to write by using this social media. We will try to make compromise with this social media ethics, many of the time your privacy or your public images. So these are all about the ethics paper 2023 which has been asked as part of case study. They are finished right now. So thank you guys. Thanks a lot.